Hello and good afternoon and welcome to the Twin Ring, Motegi, the mobility resort, Motegi, for round 2 of the 2023 Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. Thankfully, the skies are blue, or bluish anyway, clouds in the air, but the predicted rain that we were meant to have today hasn't come, so hopefully it stays dry for the next hour or so for the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup riders who have been on track a few times already this weekend, of course. On Friday, they had 2 practice sessions, and on Saturday, today, of course, midday, they had the qualifying as well. We'll run you through those shortly, but there you can see up at turn 10, the hairpin curve here at the mobility resort Motegi. The fans have stuck around to watch the stars of the future, in Asia at least, tackle this tight and technical 4.8 kilometre layout here in Japan. It's great to be back in Japan. It's great to get the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup back underway as well. My name is Elliot York and bringing you the action today alongside me is Chris Jordan. Got race 1, of course, coming up very, very shortly indeed. In around 10 minutes time we'll be underway here in Japan. The sun is setting nicely here in Motegi, and then race 2 will get underway tomorrow morning just before Motegi warm-up. Chris, good to have you. I'm excited for this one. It should be a good race as always in the Asia Talent Cup. We've already had round 1 a couple of months ago back in Malaysia. A good round there, and it should be a cracking weekend of racing ahead.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure to be alongside you here. Absolutely perfect conditions for racing here. 23 degrees, not too hot, not too cold, just right, as Goldilocks would say. And most importantly, have you seen some of the snacks here available in Japan? I am actually getting a bit of a hunger on looking at the fans eating. I think I saw some Kobe beef on a skewer. How could you not be tempted by that?
Yeah, absolutely. Always good to visit Japan. They do it a little bit different here in Japan, don't they? Always great to come back to this fascinating country. Love the culture here over in this part of the world. As the riders roll up to the starting grid, as I said, just under 10 minutes time we'll be getting underway, and I can confirm for all you Japanese faithful who are watching on from home or maybe listening trackside, who knows, but it is a Japanese 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the spearhead of the grid. The Japanese riders on home soil, of course, doing wonders in qualifying. It's Eamon Adaki on pole position with a 2:02.907. So the Japanese fans who have stuck around after the MotoGP sprint are in for a bit of a treat, because they've got 4 riders at the spearhead of the grid to cheer on, and a couple more a little bit further down the field as well.
Yeah, absolutely super performance to date so far from the home riders. Odaki there, as we saw on our screens, launching from the head of the grid. He's had a decent season so far, 4th in race 1 in Malaysia. He was P7 in 2022's championship, so comes with a little bit of pedigree, and he does have a race win in the category so far. That came at Losail last year, where he also got a podium, as Shinya Azawa pops up on our screens. Keep an eye out for the number 21, P2 in last year's championship. He didn't actually make it to Malaysia last time out due to Red Bull Rookies commitments, but if you're in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, you're certainly a rider with talent.
Certainly are. Certainly are. Just having a couple of technical difficulties here in the commentary box, trying to get it sorted as soon as possible. But yeah, it should be a fascinating race, Chris. The championship is alive and kicking. 2 riders at the top of the timesheets, level on points, Pratama and Takahira, with Zen Matani on the outside of the front row. Doing well back in Malaysia as well, with a double podium.
Yeah, the rookie rider, he's been in the various Japanese championships, I should say, over the last couple of years, and looks like a big talent. Double podium on debut in the ATC, so I'm looking forward to see what he can do. Looking now at the head of the second row, it's Ryota Ogiwara, another rookie, P6 and P4 in Malaysia. So again, another new rider into the class who's impressed on his debut. Now he's at his home Grand Prix. Let's see what he can do. He started strongly as well to the weekend. He topped both Friday sessions. As we get our first non-Japanese rider here, that's Malaysian rider Farish Hafi. His debut came at Qatar 2022, as you can see P13 in last year's championship, and in the first round of this year's championship he picked up a P11 and P9. So a solid opening, but he might be hoping for a little bit more, Al.
Yeah, right. I think we're all sorted now in the commentary box. I can hear myself in my ears. I can hear you loud and clear, Chris. So sorry about that. If you experience difficulties listening on from wherever you are watching in the world, I think we're all set and raring to go. So where are we then on the grid? P6, Veda Pratama on the outside of row 2. Pratama, not a rookie in this class. There's 10 rookies in the class in the ATC this year, 7 non-rookies as well. Pratama leading the championship, of course, the Indonesian 14-year-old. He was also on pole in Malaysia, won the second race by 2.3 seconds in slightly different conditions compared to the ones they had in race 1 over in Malaysia. Hamed Al Sahuti, a name that many of you from the Asian Talent Cup fan club and maybe elsewhere around the world as well is a familiar name, the Qatar rider.
Yeah, we've seen him on the European Talent Circuit in 2022 as well as part of the Junior GP World Championship. He's picked up numerous point scoring finishes too in that category, so a rider definitely on the rise. It'll be interesting to see what he can produce here today at Motegi.
Yeah, absolutely right. P6 in last year's Asia Talent Cup. A couple of podiums over at Le Losail International Circuit in Qatar. We'll be heading back there in a couple of weeks' time. Well, just more than a couple of weeks. A few weeks' time for the final round of the Asia Talent Cup. We're expecting this title race to go right down to the wire. And he also had a podium last year, Chris, in Japan, did Al Sahuti. So he goes well at the Mobility Resort Motegi. The fans out in force, enjoying themselves, like I said earlier on. The rain has stayed away. We just saw Somkiat Chancha there just going through your picture. An Asia Talent Cup champion himself, of course, back in 2016. Giving some of the riders some useful information ahead of race 1 here in Japan. It's been a while since they were last out on track, as we see some nice dance moves from the crowd.
Pretty sure I saw you doing this in the bar the other night, Al.
I was doing it a little bit worse than that, let me tell you that for sure. But yeah, like I said, the Japanese fans absolutely love their motorcycle racing. Great to see so many of them down here for Tissot Sprint Saturday. And of course, we'll be welcoming him even more through the gate tomorrow for Sunday's race day. Let's hope they get here nice and early before MotoGP warm-up, because race 2, as I said, is coming up early doors tomorrow morning. This is Thailand's Phuetisan, Jack Rapit Fat Phuetisan, Championship P5 at the moment in time. From Thailand, the 16-year-old, he'll be hoping to climb his way up through the pack in today's race and in tomorrow's race, of course. There is a Thai flag, so good to see different nationalities being supported here in the Asia Talent Cup.
Yeah, it's very much a far-reaching continent, and we've got several entries from multiple countries. You've Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, of course, Qatar, Al Sahuti among the chief riders. As we look at an Australian rider here, that's Mariano Nicolis. Despite the Greek name, he wears the Australian flag. P11 in last year's championship, and his best result to date is P5 in Buriram last year. P8 in Motegi's race last year too. So he has some pedigree in this class, as we're 1 minute away.
Certainly are then. Here is the starting grid for races 1 and 2 here in Japan. Adaki from Ozawa, the returning Ozawa and Mitani. Ogiwara, Hafai and Pratama make up row 2 with Al Sahuti, Takahira and Fadiya on row 3. Row 4 is spearheaded by Phuetisan with Nicholas and Wan Moon joining him. Darwisi is on row 5 with Okunuki and Mailandri. Putra, Rasaidan and Russo make up row 6. And then at the back of the grid, it's Gading and Putra in 19th and 20th. After qualifying earlier on today in slightly different conditions than we have now. Still dry, all the sessions have been dry for the Asia Talent Cup riders, as they fire their Honda NSF 250Rs away from the starting grid for the sighting lap, the warm-up lap here in the Asia Talent Cup. We're all past our commentary box window, an absolute racket. These bikes might be smaller in stature than the Grand Prix ones, but they're no less loud, and they're very, very nimble machines indeed. And I'm expecting to have, like we did last year in Japan, a very, very close encounter. In qualifying, Chris, it was tight, wasn't it? Only less than a tenth covering Adaki and Ozawa from pole position, and only 2/10 covered the top 5 riders. So as always, Chris, in the Asia Talent Cup, it's going to be a close fight out there.
Yeah, 100%. It typically is in these Talent Cup races as well. It's always a thrilling watch, and with so much pedigree on the track here. You've got Shinya Ozawa coming back into it. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do today, and of course tomorrow. Veda Pratama starting 6th on the grid, which is maybe a little bit of a surprise, given that he was 3rd in last year's championship and has plenty of experience in the class too. So lots of little stories to tell. We're all going to know a lot more after the close of the opening lap to see who is well positioned to fight for victory here at Motegi.
Yeah, qualifying can sometimes be a little bit messy. We see it in Moto3 a lot, don't we? Not always the riders who have necessarily the best pace qualify on the front row and the first 2 rows, so do expect the likes of Veda Pratama to make their way forward. 73 degrees Fahrenheit air temperature, nice conditions for these riders here in Japan to attack the next 13 laps. Race 2 getting underway at 9:45 AM tomorrow morning local time, so note that down in your diaries. This is the plunge down into the 90-degree corner at turn 11. Expect to see fireworks down here throughout the race. It's a popular passing manoeuvre we saw in the MotoGP Tissot Sprint. Not to give anything too much away if you haven't watched it yet, but we saw some action down there, including one of the title contenders. So expect fireworks down there at turn 11.
Yeah, it's such a spectacular part of the circuit coming into turn 11. The long straight into it, the hard braking, and then under the bridge. We've seen plenty of action there already this weekend, as you said, and here's hoping we see a little bit more in the Asia Talent Cup.
I'm sure we will do. The riders then line up to the grid. Race 1 of 2 about to get underway here at the Mobility Resort Motegi. The sun peeping through the clouds as it sets in the land of the rising sun. I think all riders, just the 2 at the back, just lining up to their grid spots, will get the green flag waving at the front of the grids. We will shortly be underway. The red flag clears, the green flag waves at the back. The riders are ready to kickstart their season once again after a couple of months break from Malaysia. And we are waiting for the red lights to come on. It took a while, but they are on now, and we are underway here in Japan. And it's a great start for the number 21 of Ozawa. The returning Ozawa gets the launch. It wasn't a good getaway for the number 14 of Adaki from pole position. Who's going to get the whole shot? It is the number 21 of Ozawa. Mitani getting a good start.
Ooh,
as we have drama unfolding at the back of the field in the mid-pack. Can't quite tell who's gone down. The number... Yeah, can't quite tell who's gone down there.
We've lost the number 12 there of Marianas Nicholas, which is a big shame for him. He had a decent qualifying. I didn't quite see who the other bike was going down, but a shocking start from Eamon Odaki. He started on pole and was swallowed up at the beginning, but it's the number 2 Zen Mitani leading here across the opening corners, with Shinya Ozawa about to make his move up the inside. Easy peasy as you like. We've been talking about Shinya Ozawa. As we can see, it's wildcard Okanuki who's crashed out as well, the number 22. Well, there's a battle already forming here at the front, isn't there? Zen Mitani and Shinya Ozawa. Elbows are out already, and Ozawa goes wide, and the number 16 of Ogiwara then moves into 2nd place.
Ahmed Darwizi was another of the riders to crash down at turn 1. Let's keep our fingers crossed that all riders are okay. Never nice to see riders going down at all, let alone at turn 1 for Dia, another rider to go down, then the number 15 rider from Indonesia. So a dramatic start then here for race 1 in the Asia Talent Cup, but at the front it's already kicking off. The number 2 of Mitani makes his way up the inside, the Japanese rider, 3rd in the championship, a couple of podiums last time out, remember, over in Malaysia. But it's Ozawa, the returning Ozawa, who's got plenty of experience under his belt. Finished P2, of course, in last year's championship. Knows exactly what he's doing as we go about 4 abreast into the tight and twisty turn 11 90-degree corner. I said we're going to see fireworks down there already, Chris, and we've seen them already.
Absolutely, and Mitani is taking no prisoners so far, but look who's in 4th place. We mentioned before Veda Pratama. He is lurking just outside the podium places, already up from 6th on the grid. it's only a matter of time, I think, before he tries to make a move on either Izawa or Ogiwara. But it's going to be chopping and changing now across the next couple of corners as we come for another lap.
Saw a flashing yellow light in the background there. Wasn't quite sure what it was, but the yellow flag seemed to have cleared down at turn 1. So that's good news for the riders still in the race. Bad news for the riders that have gone out, of course, but they will get another chance tomorrow. You're exactly right, Chris, to point out Pitama making his way up from the second row of the grid. He was a 3-time winner last year in the Asia Talent Cup. Pitama wouldn't have been happy with his qualifying this afternoon, but he's made his way forward. He's got the start that he would have wanted. Incident involving turn 1's reviewed after the race. We haven't got a replay so far, so we can't quite pick the bones out of it. Didn't see who was at fault, if anyone was at fault, or whether it was just a racing incident. But the stewards have decided that it will be reviewed after the race as they concentrate with 11 and a bit laps to go here at the Mobility Resort. Motegi thought the number 21 on Vizara was trying to get to the front again, isn't he? He led on the opening lap and lost it on the run down from turn 10 into turn 11, where the slipstream will come into effect.
Yeah, we've got a breakaway front 4, but just behind them we've got Emonadaki, Puetesian, Takahira, and I mentioned for Faris Putra has made his way up the grid. I think he's collected 9 places so far, which is quite an impressive start for the young rider. But out front it's Ogiwara leading from Izawa. We're looking at the number 15 here of Raykat Fadila, one of the riders caught up in that opening corner incident. A huge shame for him, but he's back on track now, gaining some crucial experience. Let's see if he can reel it in. We're going to get the replay of the race start here now.
Yeah, so the riders
on the right hand side, number 14 gets eaten up here in Minadaki, and then we're going to see the incident coming up now.
Oof. So it looked like, yeah, the number 12 of Nicholas, the Australian, just ran into the back of someone. We're going to get a little slow-mo here. Watch your eye on the number 12. Just gets his braking marker a little bit wrong by the looks of it. And then, unfortunately, down the road he goes.
Fadila getting collected by Nicholas as well. Nothing he could do about that. Seems very, very unfortunate, this incident.
Must have been a separate incident a little bit further back as well, Chris, because I don't think the riders who went down afterwards would have been caught out by the incident in front. I might be wrong, but it looked like a couple of separate incidents there down at turn 1. We've seen in the Grand Prix classes how tricky it can be to negotiate turn 1. It happens sometimes, but the riders will get back up and learn from it and go again for race 2 tomorrow. But back at the front, number 16 of Ogiwara, Japanese rider, was leading. Not going to be for long because Ozawa pulls out the slipstream, his compatriot, and makes his way up the inside down at turn 5. Another popular passing manoeuvre. Adaki has set the fastest lap of the race at 2:03.512. They're not quite on par with what they were setting in qualifying just yet. We can expect to see the times to continue to tumble as the riders get to grips with the race and start to get into a rhythm, if that rhythm is at all possible to get into in the Asia Talent Cup, with how many different passing manoeuvres come their way. The number 2 of Mitani just trying to have a sneaky look at the inside of Pitama, but not quite this time around.
Yeah, our lead group of 4 has now grown to a lead group of 7. The likes of Odaki, Takahira and Puetiesan coming back into this one. So 7-rider fight for the lead. The likes of Al Sahuti leading group 2 with Hafi, Putra, One Moon all part of that. But all eyes on the front, the number 7 of Pradama, excuse me, just getting overtaken here by the number 2 of Mitani, and Shinyazawa slotting into 3rd position. So it's again all chopping and changing here.
Yeah, difficult to keep up with what's happening here. Numerous changes to the lead, lap after lap, corner after corner, just as we predicted and just as we expected ahead of the race here getting underway in Japan. The number 2's leader there, Mitani, is just wobbling about a bit. I'm not sure if that's caused by any contact or just natural for the clutch lever to be doing that down the straight, collecting the wind, of course, as the riders pile into turn 1, flick it right, the long double apex turn 1 and 2 to start the lap here in Motegi. Takahira has set now the fastest lap of the race as we dive down into turn 3. There's a long lap penalty loop, just pointing it out in case we have to have riders going through there at any point between today and tomorrow morning.
Absolutely super move then from Ogiwara to move into third position at the expense of Izawa, and he's at it again up the inside of Mitani to move into second position, and he's now chasing down Pradama out front. Has Mitani got a response for him in third place? No, Ogiwara is going to try one out the inside, gets the outside line, and then up the inside, and he's in first position. 3 absolutely outstanding moves over the last 4 corners from the young Japanese rider.
Yeah, good stuff from the young Japanese rider. Just missed out on a podium in race 2 back in Malaysia, so he'll be hungry, just as all of these riders are, to stand on the podium, especially with it being his home race here in Japan before we move on to Indonesia next. These Asia Talent Cup riders will be following the Grand Prix riders, their heroes, on the path that they want to be on in the future. It's getting a little bit tight through turn 10, the hairpin curve, and then they fire it down the hill. A great bit of track, a really tricky braking zone as they pile down into turn 11. You've got to get your braking zone right as we get confirmation of Hafid Faharil, the number 18 rider, crashing out, unfortunately, down at turn 9. We see a lot of riders going down at turn 9 this weekend. It's a bit of a hot spot for crashing, unfortunately, is turn 9, as the riders just push their way through the left-hander. He's having to get assistance away from the circuit, but hopefully he's all okay. Let's get a little bit of a replay. Oh, it's not the front end tuck.
That's nasty.
It's a yeah, it's a high side, unfortunately, for Rasia down the Indonesian. So hopefully it's just a knock. He's just had the wind taken out of his sails, and he'll be okay to continue in race 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, as you said, hopefully it's all precautionary, but it looked a nasty crash, so pretty much expected that he might need a moment to recover and get back on his feet. As we look at the battle for third place here, and Odaki punts Takahira. I think it's Takahira out of the way, forces him wide. In fact, it's Ogiwara. He is dropped to the back of this pack, and there's a little bit of a gap already opened up between them. He's got to make inroads here. But Pratama still leading out front, but Mitani in second ahead of Odaki.
It's getting super aggressive in the opening laps. They're all fighting for position here in the Asia Talent Cup. There's 8.5 laps to go. They don't need to be too busy and too aggressive just yet. It's going to be like that in the final 4 laps. You can definitely expect that, but the riders pulling no punches. They're all a close-knit bunch, of course. They work together in the Asia Talent Cup. They all work under the same umbrella, on the same bikes, get the same mentors, the same training. So they're all close-knit. They're all friends with each other, they all get along, but this is racing, of course, and they all want to win. They're all young and they're all hungry, and we showed it there with Ogiwara running wide, the Japanese rider, but he'll soon be tagging on to the back of this group. He'll use the slipstream to get his head down, and then he'll be right back with the group. The number 16 rider, you can see there's pretty much with them already, so it cost him time, but not too much.
Yeah, we're looking at Odaki. I'm just seeing if he was getting close enough to make a move on Veda Pratama there, but Pratama is a demon late on the brakes, so he's going to hold on to the lead as we come around the final couple of corners, victory corner here, and we're going to knock off another lap. But as you said, great bunch of friends here, but once the visors are down, it's elbows out, and it's all about victory.
Absolutely.
It seems that way, chopping and changing at every corner here. To settle down just a little bit. I hope I don't give it the commentator's curse, particularly for the case of Pratama and Odaki, who are leading out in front as we look at the slow-mo coming over the hill here, and what a shot that is.
Yeah, it certainly is a great shot. The sun setting here in Japan makes for great views. You can see some of the riders wearing slightly less tinted visors. Always great to see the riders' eyes. Gives you a brand new perspective, an interesting perspective into what the riders are doing inside the helmets, concentrating on nailing that apex, as all these riders have done, down into turn 11, and then they fire it up through the gears through turn 12, 13 and 14 under the bridge. Not that bridge, that's another bridge that they fire out of through turn 5, and the spectacular turn 6 right-hander, sweeping right-hander, full gas on these little Honda NSF 250Rs, and we have a change of the race lead. Number 14 of Ayman Adaki, the Japanese rider, up into P1 again, but I don't think he's going to stay there for long, because Pratama on the number 7 machine has looked racy so far today. It's getting tight down into turn 9. That's a very popular passing manoeuvre as well. There's plenty of them here in Motegi. It creates great racing, as we've already seen so far in the opening few laps, and we're not even at half race distance yet, so there's plenty left on the table for these riders.
Yeah, an interesting line there from Zen Motegi as he was trying to fire it up the inside and just about managed to keep it pinned. As we're looking at the replay here, the number 21 of Izawa firing it up into third position even, and he's dropped back in. Motegi back into fourth, and look at Pratama out front again, but not for long. Odaki fires it back, takes the outside line. Izawa slots into third position ahead of Motegi, and number 16 Ogiwara is leading Takahira in this lead group of riders.
Yeah,
but it's all Eamon Odaki over the last couple of laps. He seems to be, well, I'll give him the commentator's curse, will I? Not quite yet. Yeah, always had faith in him. He was going to maintain the lead there as Pratama had a look up the inside, but Odaki in control with 7 laps to go.
Yeah, didn't quite see what happened to Pratama down at turn 11 on the previous lap, but I'm sure he probably would have gone for an overtake and just got his braking marker a little bit wrong, and then ran wide and relinquished first place again to Eamon Odaki. But these riders are locked together. The number 14 lead-in, Duparo Wanmoon, has unfortunately crashed out at turn 1, the number 10 rider. Hopefully he is okay. Pratama did lead briefly. That's getting a little bit tight down at turn 5. Hangs it round the outside to Pratama. A great move then. He retakes the lead, the number 7 rider. Odaki is demoted to P2, the Japanese rider. And we've got the number 2 of Motegi lurking there in the background. He wasn't trying to be in the background though, was he? So that's Faris Hafayev and 2 crashes down at turn 1. Let's hope they're separate incidents and they've not gone down together, but unfortunately that is race over.
Yeah, day over for the young Hafai rider number 19. Let's see what happened. Oof, it looks like they may have collided just before. That's a pity. Wanmoon and Hafai both gone. Exchange of looks, arms thrown in the air. We don't know who's at fault, but now each one looking at each other saying it wasn't mine. Back out front then is Pratama, still leading here. Odaki in second place with Motegi up the third. Ogiwara
Oof.
then he is Odaki, big chatter at the front, runs wide. Oof. And that's going to open the door for Pratama and Motegi and relegates him into third position.
He's done well to keep it on the tarmac there, who's the number 14 of Eamon Odaki. I thought he was going into the car park there down at turn 11, but he did well to keep it stopped and not lose too many positions. Only down to third place, but again, just goes to show you, not that we need it, how tricky that downhill braking zone is into turn 11, especially when you've got a little bit of slipstream down into turn 11. It's the last passing manoeuvre on the lap, the last real passing manoeuvre. Of course, you can hang it around the outside at turn 12 and turn 13. We're going to get a replay here just as soon as he applies the anchors, applies the front brakes, click it down the gearbox, the rear wheel comes up into the air, and if you've got the rear wheel in the air, you can't slam on the rear brake. That obviously helps the riders brake down into all these corners, and it was very close there on the exit as well, wasn't it? As Pratama then has a little bit of an advantage, the biggest we've seen so far in this race. Don't expect that to last too long though. Not sure what happened in the group just behind, but maybe it was some swapping of manoeuvres as we see Odaki climbing up to P2 once again, and immediately he's on the prowl and trying to take the race lead away from Pratama. So I'm assuming Odaki, got the better of Pratama. Pratama then tries to get the better of Odaki, but Odaki says, no, you're not, mate. I'm going to have that P2 place right back.
Yeah, Pratama's there. Odaki's firing it up the inside of Motegi again. And it seems like things are heating up a little bit here. All these riders in the top of sets, personal best sector 1s, and as fast as we've seen yet in this race, and a couple faster sector 2s. Ryota Ogiwara holds the fastest lap, the only rider into the 202s. That was until Shinya Ozawa, who first got into the 202s before Ogiwara set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap. So we're looking at things getting a little bit spicier on track, but Pratama still in control out front. He's opened up a lead of about half a second over Motegi and Odaki, with the two of them constantly chopping and changing places in second. This is all playing into Pratama's hands.
Certainly is. Let's get the gap across the line then, because this has probably been the first clean lap a race leader has had in this race so far with 5 laps to go. Yeah, there it is, a new fastest lap of the race, 202.938 from Pratama. So he's got a little bit of clear track ahead of him. He's got a lot of clear track ahead of him. He's got some clear track behind him. The riders battling away behind him, and Pratama's just about edged out, just under half a second lead, 0.4 seconds his advantage. So can he build on that this time around? The riders just behind have got to box clever now. They know that Pratama's got some good pace here in Motegi, and he's going to be into his rhythm as the number 9 of Takahira runs wide. Looks behind him and sees a face full of Fuetizan, the Thai rider. They're just dropping off the back a little bit of those two riders. Get them through the first split and see what the times are. Still 0.4 seconds through the first split, here in Japan, as the riders jostle it out for positions.
Here comes Motegi.
Yeah, Daki up the inside.
Lovely execution of that move. I'm just thinking, as you mentioned, they do need to show a bit of racecraft, box clever here, so I feel it's only a matter of time before we see someone battling and overtake, and as young riders tend to do on these Moto3 machines, sticks the hand out and tells them to fall in line behind me. So bet when that's going to happen. I can see it in the next lap or two, but who's it going to be? Who's going to be the one to chase down Pratama out front? Odaki thinks it's him. He's moved into second position ahead of Mitani. Let's see, it's 6/10 in it now. Let's check coming over the last split. Let's see how it is at the end of the lap while we look at the live championship standings, and it's very beneficial in Pratama's favour. He'll extend his lead at 15 points over Takahira, who is currently running in 6th position.
Yeah, so the gap at the minute is just eked out by just under a couple of tenths on this lap. We'll get them across the line, 4 laps to go. This is where the serious business begins. Pratama's got his head down. Not a fastest lap of the race, a 2:02.4, but it was the quickest of all the riders in that group. So Pratama, it was the fastest lap of the race, a 2:02.4 of course is the fastest lap of the race. His gap over the line had stretched to a couple of tenths more. It's now 0.6 seconds. Feels a little bit like now or never for the riders just to go line astern for maybe half a lap to a full lap, just to allow Adaki to see if he can try and reel in Pratama at the front, but I don't think that's going to happen, Chris.
No, he's out to 8 tenths now coming through the first split of this lap as we're looking at the slow-mo Pratama. You can just see how much of a gap he has over Odaki in second place at the moment. Late on the brakes, the leg dangling out, a little touch of the tarmac just to get the lean angle right. And brilliant shot from our camera team out on circuit at the moment. While we look back on track, and Aizawa has moved up into 3rd position. Odaki has closed the gap a little bit, but not by a whole pile. It's still around the 8 tenths mark, just under. So it's only a matter of time with only a few laps, 4 laps remaining, 3.5 even at this stage. Odaki really needs to put the hammer down if he wants to catch Pratama. Pratama's setting a pretty unrivaled pace out front as things stand.
Goes to show if you can get 3, 4, 5 tenths on your rivals, that's when you can really try to start and make a gap in the Asia Talent Cup. Anything less than that and it's pretty easy for the riders to use a bit of slipstream, use you as a guide and reel you in. But Pratama's obviously built that lead up to 0.8 seconds now through the 3rd intermediate split. Azar was trying his hardest on the number 21 machine to reel in Adaki in P2 on the 14 machine. As we round the final corner, the victory corner, will it be victory corner for Pratama? It's certainly looking like it so far with 3 laps to go. What's the gap across the line from Pratama? 9 tenths of a second, so that's another 3 or 4 tenths built on his lead from Pratama, so he's into his rhythm now, and this is looking ominous.
Yeah, we spoke about it before the race, starting 6th on the grid. Qualifying didn't quite fall his way, but he's shown quite clearly and obviously today he's got the race pace to match anyone on the day. He's out to a second of an advantage over the chasing pack. So this looks like now it's the battle for 2nd and 3rd position. Unless Pratama makes a mistake, he's going to ramp home, I think, with victory here. He's just set another best sector 1 of the race. And here comes Aizawa on the inside of Odaki, and it's going to be a Japanese shootout for the final podium place. Odaki, Aizawa, Ogiwara and Mitani all in contention here with just 2.5 laps remaining.
Yeah, this is going to go right down to the wire in the podium fight. Unfortunately for these guys, the race win seems a little bit too far up the road. 1.2 seconds is Pratama's lead through intermediate split 2. With 2.5 laps to go, Pratama is well on his way to claiming a second race victory in a row. So we're going to concentrate for now on the podium fight, led by Idaki so far, with the 21 of Azara right behind him, the number 2 of Mitani and the number 16 of Ogiwara. Like you say, Chris, 4 Japanese riders all jotting out for 2 positions on the podium. They all desperately want to stand on the podium at their home Grand Prix. Unfortunately, they're probably not going to win this one unless Pratama makes some sort of mistake, but judging from his last couple of laps, that's not going to happen. So the podium fight will rage on between the 4 Japanese riders. The Japanese faithful are hoping to see at least 2 of them stand on the podium. Let's hope they keep it nice and clean as they come through the bridge. This is the final sector of the lap. Is it all going to come down to the final corner, turn 14, the right-hander? Then they fire it out of the corner onto the relatively short home straight, but it still allows slipstream, as you can see there, as Mitani makes his way underneath Azawa. Or does he know just about Azawa? Late on the brakes, but Mitani's going to have the inside line block Azawa's route onto the apex at turn 2. They're still side by side, but Mitani's got the job done so far, but how long for?
Another fastest lap from Pratama out front, and he's in a world of his own, and that's the racing we want to see. Hard but clean and fair. One on the outside, one blocking tight on the inside. This battle is going to go all the way down to the wire, I think. Odaki's been in control of second place for a couple laps now, with Mitani just behind Zawa and Ogiwara then. Ogiwara's just been kind of biding his time at the back of this pack as we look and a change of hands. Just as I say, Odaki's been in control of second place. Mitani makes his move, and we've got Shinya Zawa and Ogiwara waiting for their moment to strike. Will Odaki fight back on the inside here? You bet he will, and he takes that beautifully for P2.
Yeah, lovely move at turn 7 from the number 14 of Idaki, Eamon Idaki, number 14, of course. Turn 7, a popular passing move then here in the Asia Talent Cup as a fast left-hander. We don't see it all too often across the other classes, but the riders come through turn 6 at full pelt and then hard on the anchors through to turn 7, the left-hander. It's as you were, but I don't think it's going to be as you were as they power down the hill for the penultimate time, of course. Pratama, his lead is now up to pretty much 2 seconds there or thereabouts. The number 7 is well on his way to victory, but the number 2 of Mitani shows a wheel to Idaki, but doesn't quite do it this time around, but knows there's only 1 lap to go. So do the riders, the number 21 of Azawa and the number 16 of Ogiwara. They know that this is the last lap. Pratama well on his way to victory, as I say, on the number 7 machine, and we are rightly focusing on the Japanese white, the quartet of Japanese riders fighting for 2 places on the podium.
Here comes Mitani then, down the front straight. Will he make a move, stick into second? No, Otaki goes a little bit wider, but holds onto second position. Mitani remains in third. Azawa and Ogiwara then swarming all over the 2 ahead of them as they look to get themselves onto the podium. As we said, look at Pratama in a world of his own. Odaki then leading here, but the number 16 of Ogiwara, he's up the inside of Mitani. Will he hold on for 3rd place?
Great move from Ogiwara down into turn 3. The riders running wide then on the final lap. I was going to mention that they were close on the exit of turn 2, but they have exceeded track limits on the final lap. So we're potentially going to get some demoted positions here in the Asia Talent Cup. That's not what we wanted to see, but we'll concentrate on the racing that's in front of us for now. So far, it's the number 14 of Idaki who leads the second place fight, but will it be for long? We're coming up to turn 7 with soon. So many passing manoeuvres down into turn
Mitani
7.
Up the inside.
Not quite this time around, but you can bet your bottom dollar that that's not going to be the final manoeuvre that Mitani is fancying in this lap. We're coming now up to turn 9, V corner. Is there going to be any moves made this time around? No, there's not quite.
Yeah, Azawa still at the back of this group, but it's Odaki is brilliant on the brakes as Ogiwara is holding on as well to 3rd position. Where is Mitani going to get his chance? Only a few corners remaining as we enter into the final sector. Can Mitani get himself back into it, or even Azawa at this stage? He's just been lurking at the back of this group. I feel something might come in that last corner, last couple of corners, with a few hard turning and hard braking as we look at Mitani firing it down the inside. Will he make it stick this time? Oh, he's on the inside. There's two and he's out of the seat. Oh, Motegi is now into second position, but Odaki's going to fight back.
That's close.
And it's Ozawa. It's elbows out. Here we go, El.
Yep, final corner. It's perfection from Pratama on the number 17. He takes victory, but who is going to take second place? The number 2 of Motegi crosses the line in second place, but we've got to watch out for track limits. Didn't quite see who was third. Let's look to the time screens. It was Idaki who won the race to the line for the final spot on the podium. Ogiwara crossed the line fourth with Azara, the number 21, down in fifth. Drama then down at turn 11. On the exit of turn 11, it was very, very close through there and under the bridge at turn 12. We're going to have to wait for some results to come through. It's Pratama, Motegi and Idaki on the podium as things stand. Pratama will be your race winner of that, there is no doubt, but we had some exceeding track limits on the final lap from, I think, maybe all 4 riders, so it's going to be interesting to see how the stewards decipher that one. But what a race. We did say it was all going to come down to turn 11, Chris, and that it did.
Yeah, you called it before the race. It was perfection from Pratama. 3-second advantage in the end, but that battle for second, third, fourth and fifth went down to the wire with riders out of the seat and last corner overtakes. And I think it was nearly a photo finish on the line. Yeah, only about 0.05 of a second between Ogiwara and Odaki as they came across the line. And Shinya Ozawa is the one to miss out, which I'm slightly surprised at, but Zen Motegi in second place, and it's a brilliant move he pulled off coming down into turn 11, took full advantage then, as I think it was Ozawa who came out of the seat.
Yeah, Motegi then crossing the line in second place, 3 seconds down on victory, but that is his best result so far this season. Of course, a rookie, his best result in the Asia Talent Cup. A couple of third places back in Malaysia. He's backed it up with what we hope to be is a second place finish for the number 2. We'll bring you information as we get it. Not sure if we will get any information, of course. I might be completely wrong, but riders did exceed track limits on the exit of turn 4. Can't quite remember who it was. And then we obviously had the drama down into turn 11. So going to be interesting to see how that is decided, as the number 2 of Motegi waves to the home crowds that have stayed to watch that race, and they were certainly treated to a fascinating one. And we get to do it all again tomorrow morning, of course, at 9:45 AM local time. Do stick around for that one in the morning to get you warmed up for the day ahead. Doesn't get much better than that racing wise down at turn 11. What a treat for the fans who have stuck around. Plenty of fans sticking around down at turn 11, of course. So here we have a replay then of the final lap. Eamon Idaki hard on the anchors on the number 14. It's not the first time he got it out of shape down there into turn 11. And he runs obviously very wide indeed. Then tries to get the cut back. I think he runs onto the curb. Yes, he does. He just goes out of shot there. We're going to pick it up here. So number 14 of Idaki. Okay, so that's not the last lap then. That was earlier on in the race. I thought we were getting a replay of the last lap, but that wasn't to be. Here it is then, running onto the paint. Motegi, of course, who finished second, and Ozawa. You're right, Chris. So they're the 2 riders who ran onto the green on the last lap. And if you run onto the green on the last lap, you are demoted 1 position automatically. So here it is, the last lap down into turn 11. The number 16 there of Ogiwara. You can see them there slamming it down the gearbox. Great slow-mos there for the riders at work. And then Agara, yeah, they just both run. The other 2 riders who didn't, oh, look at that from Ogiwara.
Coming back up onto the curb, but I said it was Ozawa, in fact it was Ogiwara. And wow, he's managed to hold on there, because that might not look like much on the screen, but those bumps are big, and going at that speed will throw you out of the seat.
Yeah, it was Idaki as well who got out of the seat just behind Ogiwara. It cost Ogiwara a podium, but as we've just seen, Motegi did exceed track limits, and so did Ozawa. So if Motegi did exceed track limits, which he did, but are they going to decide that so did Ogiwara and Idaki on the final lap down there? They didn't lose, they didn't gain obviously advantage from doing so, but rules are rules. We're getting confirmation that Hamid Al Sahuti has got a 1 position penalty due to exceeding track limits on the final lap. Al Sahuti now 9th place inside the top 10. No confirmation yet, Chris, but a lot to unpack there on the final lap.
Yeah, the 4 riders, a lot of action in that battle for the podium, so it's understandable they may be taking their time if there is any action to follow. But as things stand, Zen Mitani is back on the podium. His best results, as you said before, he had a double podium in Malaysia. Both of them were P3s. As things stand, he's got a P2 here. Personal best result for the young Japanese rider in his debut campaign, the Asia Talent Cup, and potentially a contender for title honours if he keeps up this form.
Yeah, absolutely. The riders and teams haven't obviously been told, I say teams, it's all part of one team, but the crew chiefs of the riders obviously haven't been told of any penalties that might be coming their way, so maybe Pratama, Mitani and Adaki will be your podium. We're not getting confirmation at all on our timing screens. We've already got Al Sahuti, who was demoted 1 position, so obviously race direction and the stewards are on it in terms of that, so maybe this is your final podium. Of no dispute though is your race winner, Chris, Veda Pratama, coming from outside of row 2, 6th on the grid for Veda Pratama. He was nearly 7/10 off in qualifying, so it was, as we were discussing earlier, Chris, that you can't look too much into qualifying. Obviously the riders who qualify up towards the sharp end of the grid tend to be the ones who have the superior pace, but obviously Pratama wasn't 7/10 slower than any of the riders out there. He went on to win the race by 3 seconds, the biggest race margin we've had so far this season. So coming from outside of row 2 again tomorrow, he'll sleep a little bit easier tonight.
Yeah, if he demonstrates the pace he had, as we look at the highlights here, El, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, just getting some highlights then from the riders on the opening few laps, piling their way down into turn 11. Pratama there, the eventual race winner on the number 7 machine, hard on the anchors. Adaki there on the number 14 bike, also hard on the anchors. Mitani on the number 2 machine as well. Some spectacular slow-mo shots made even better by the setting sun here in Motegi. Won't get the same shots tomorrow morning, different time of day, but here is confirmation then of the results, and it is, as you were, across the line. Veda Pratama wins from Zen Mitani and Eamon Adaki. What a fight it was in the podium fight. Ryota Ogiwara claims 4th, with Shinya Ozawa just missing out on the podium in 5th. So too did Takahira in P6. Fuetizan wasn't too far off the podium fight in 7th, with Fariz Putra in 8th place and Hamid Al Sahuti in 9th place, the Qatar rider, with Mail Andri rounding out the top 10. Russo, Fadia, Gading, Putra and Darwisi were your other finishers, and they all pick up points after finishing the race. Unfortunately, Hafiye, Wanmoon, Raisadin, Nicholas and Okanuki didn't finish the race. 3 of them retired later on in the race, and 2 of them, in Nicholas and Okanuki, didn't finish lap 1 as we saw drama at turn 1. Fingers crossed all the riders are okay. Here's your Riders' Championship after 3 races in 2023. Pratama extends his lead to 15 points over Takahira. They were level on points coming into this race, and now they're 15 points apart, but that could all change tomorrow, of course. Things change quickly in the Asia Talent Cup. Mitani, he stays 3rd after his podium. Ogiwara is 4th, and Adaki rounds out the top 5. Adaki and Fuetizan in 5th and 6th, level on points on 29. Here's a little bit further down the order. Rasaidan moving down a couple of places on 14 points. Darwisi, Shinya Ozawa, his first points of the season, of course, after missing Malaysia. He was on Red Bull Rookies Cup duties, was Shinya Ozawa, the Japanese rider, so he missed round 1 after competing in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. So good to see Ozawa back at the front here in Motegi. And what a treat for the Asia Talent Cup riders. Hopefully the first of many that they'll be standing on, a Grand Prix podium. And not only that, some of them at the home race in Japan for Mitani and Adaki. The riders then will shortly be coming onto the podium. Of course, won't be spraying the bubbly. They'll have to settle for fizzy water. Obviously, 2 young to be doing the alcoholic beverages at this stage, but they're just starting out in their careers. And as I say, hopefully it looks like this will be the first of many for all three of these riders. Adaki in third place shakes the hand of his compatriot of Mitani, and then they welcome to the podium your race winner Pratama by 3 seconds in the end. And like I say, race 1 coming up tomorrow morning at 9:45, so don't forget about that. You're going to want to tune in if race 1 is anything to go by. You'll be seeing all these riders in the lead group just as they were today. Hopefully they've packed some room in their suitcases to carry the trophies home with them. They'll be the first ones that they'll collect on this tour of Asia, following around the MotoGP paddocks, and all three of them, we're hoping that's the first of many, of course, as we get set to complete the Asia Talent Cup in 2023. We head on to Indonesia, of course, next, then it's Thailand, then it's Malaysia, and then it's Qatar. But let's hear the national anthem of your race winner, Pratama. Great to hear the Indonesian national anthem ringing around the mobility resort Motegi for Vida Pratama. The Indonesian.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic to hear it. We've heard it a couple of times as well in recent years, and let's hope we keep hearing it going forward on the World Championship circuit.
Certainly hope so, Chris. So we're going to get then highlights of race 1 here in Motegi. Adaki from pole position didn't get away well. The shake of the head once he'd realised he'd not got the launch, and then drama unfolded. Nicholas running into the back of some of the riders, and then a separate incident further down the order. Unfortunately, 4 riders crashing out at turn 1. But back on track and back at the front, a lead group of 6 or 7 riders formed, and it was interchanging lap by lap, corner by corner. Turn 9, unfortunately, caught out one of the riders down there. Hopefully they are all okay and ready to race again tomorrow. The riders piling down into the 90-degree corner at turn 11. We saw plenty of passing manoeuvres also occur at turn 7. The fast sweeping left-hander, it was getting close. It was getting argy-bargy. That was Zaman Adaki hard on the brakes down into the 90-degree corner, running a little bit wide, but didn't lose too much time down there. This was what happened at the final lap. Drama unfolding, close there through turn 13 as well. Far up the road though, 3 seconds to be exact, was the number 7 of Vida Pratama, the Indonesian, winning for the second time this year. And it was eventually Mitani and Adaki who crossed the line in P2 and P3 to stand on the podium alongside your race winner Pratama. And that is all she wrote for race 1 here in the Asia Talent Cup. Don't miss race 2 tomorrow on Sunday morning. We'll see you then.